In the blink of an eye, another week had passed. Lily, who was still feeling exhausted, had just woken up from her nap and walked into the living room with her eyes barely open. Suddenly, Lily was shocked to see Kevin as her eyes widened immediately. Just like old times, he was standing in front of the dining table, skillfully setting up the tableware. Lily cried out and immediately ran over to hug Kevin from behind. "Kevin, where have you been? It's been 2 weeks." Kevin then turned around and let Lily's head rest on his chest. As she silently cried, Kevin showed a faint smile on his face and gently patted her back. "It's all right, Lily. Everything's in the past now." Kevin comforted her in a soft voice. He had actually woken up from his coma about 5 days ago, but the Night King insisted that he should stay in his apartment for a few more days to let the golden pill's effects take full effect. Now he was not only fully recovered, but he even felt better than ever. After some time, Lily eventually stopped crying. She slowly looked up and asked, "Did Phoebe find you? Were you saved because of the rejuvenation pill that she got you?" "What are you talking about? I never saw Phoebe. It was my mentor who found a way to save me." Kevin was confused by this. In the days since he'd regained consciousness, he had purposely avoided using his phone or checking the news in order to fully focus on reconnecting with his mind, body, and spirit. "Kevin, what did you say? Phoebe didn't find you?" Lily was shocked and asked again. She clearly remembered that Truman had personally paid her a visit a week ago to inform her of Phoebe's upcoming marriage to Jared Hayes. While that was already surprising, what truly shocked her was finding out that Phoebe had agreed to the marriage in exchange for a rejuvenation pill to save Kevin. "Kevin, you should go and see Phoebe. She sacrificed herself just to obtain the rejuvenation pill for you," Lily said in a low voice. Although she knew that Phoebe had always liked Kevin, she never confronted her about it. And as his wife, Lily naturally didn't want Kevin to be stolen away by another woman. But at the same time, she also couldn't bear to let Phoebe just quietly give up everything without ever having the chance to express her true feelings for Kevin. "What's going on? Is Phoebe all right?" Kevin finally reacted. He slowly began to realize that a lot of things had happened since he disappeared, so he had some catching up to do. "After you were taken away by your mentor that day, we were all very worried for you. Dalton used all his connections to find you, but had no luck. Meanwhile, Phoebe agreed to marry the Hayes family's eldest son in exchange for a rejuvenation pill that would save you. But again, none of us knew where you were," Lily explained. "Phoebe was willing to do all of that for me?" Kevin stared at Lily in disbelief. "Yes, so you must go to her now while there's still time," Lily reluctantly urged Kevin. While she was afraid of potentially losing her husband, she also couldn't bear the guilt of hiding this from him. Moreover, she knew that Kevin might never forgive himself if he only found out about this much later on. "I have to stop her!" Kevin shouted loudly as he turned around and quickly ran out of the apartment. When Kevin arrived at the Anderson family mansion, it was still drizzling outside. His taxi had broken down along the way, so he had to run the last 2 miles in the pouring rain just to get there. "Sir, is Phoebe here?" Kevin asked Truman, who had answered the door after he rang the doorbell. "It looks like you've finally recovered," Truman replied very coldly. "Why don't you come inside so we can have a chat?" "Sir, as much as I would like to exchange pleasantries with you, I desperately have to talk to Phoebe right now," Kevin said anxiously. "I'm afraid you're already too late. Last night, the Hayes family had a private plane fly her to Detroit. But before my daughter left, she asked me to give you this letter." Truman took out an envelope from his pocket and then let out a heavy sigh as he handed it over to Kevin. Kevin's hands trembled as he opened the letter. It read, "Kevin, when you read this letter, it means your life is no longer in any danger. I'm really glad that you're okay now. Anyway, I'm sure you already know by now that I agreed to marry a man from the Hayes family in exchange for a rejuvenation pill. Unfortunately, I couldn't find you once it was already in my possession." The letter continued, "You may be wondering why I did it, and perhaps my only regret was that I never had the courage to tell you this in person. To tell you the truth, I don't know the exact moment when I fell in love with you. But once I did, There was no going back. Even if everyone kept calling you a useless son-in-law in my eyes, I've always known you to be a talented, gentle, and kind man towards me. And when you love someone, you must be willing to give your all for that person. Maybe you think that I'm silly, but if I was given the opportunity to do things all over, I wouldn't hesitate to stand by my decision to sacrifice myself for a chance to save your life. The letter ended with, "Rest assured, I'm not asking for anything in return. In this life you already have Lily, and I wouldn't dare to destroy someone's marriage. Just promise me that you'll take care of yourself in the future and live happily with Lily. Love, Phoebe." When Kevin finally finished reading the letter, he suddenly felt his heart ache, as if he'd lost something important. He never knew that Phoebe had felt that way about him, and he wished they could have spoken in person so that he could respond. "That silly daughter of mine is good at everything. Her only weakness is that she has her mother's heart. Once she falls in love with someone, she's willing to give up everything for him," Truman said sadly. Suddenly, Truman's eyes lit up once again. "Judging by your reaction to her letter, I can sense that you deeply care about her. And now that she's the one who needs help, please, save her life. Long story short, the Hayes family is quite prominent, but their son Jared is simply bad news, so I don't want Phoebe anywhere near him. With the wedding less than 2 weeks away, I hope you can find Phoebe in Detroit and bring her back to Chicago. Since you didn't take the rejuvenation pill, perhaps there's still room for negotiation. Don't worry, I'll bring Phoebe back." Kevin's eyes were filled with determination, and his tone was very firm. He then carefully folded the envelope and put it in his pocket, as if it was his most treasured possession. After bidding farewell to Truman and leaving the Anderson family mansion, Kevin took out his phone and called Spencer. Spencer immediately picked up. "How can I be of service today, Enforcer?" "What can you tell me about the Hayes family?" Kevin asked. "The Hayes family is the second most prominent family in Detroit. Their background is similar to the Hill family. They have multiple businesses in their name," Spencer briefly explained. "How long will it take to destroy the Hayes family?" Kevin asked straightforwardly. "Enforcer, what did you say?" Spencer was surprised. "Do I have to repeat myself to make you understand?" Kevin raised his voice. "1 day." Spencer didn't dare to say anything else. "All right, just stand by and wait for my next call," Kevin ordered, and then he hung up. "Since the Hayes family wants Phoebe to marry their son so badly, I'll definitely need to give a big gift for their wedding." Just then, Kevin's phone suddenly rang. It was Miss Wilson. "What's the matter, Miss Wilson?" Kevin half-heartedly asked. His mind was still preoccupied about Phoebe and the Hayes family. "I'm glad you finally picked up. Williams Media is currently facing a very serious problem on all fronts. Vito Booker has already poached most of our company's artists. Various business partners have enacted the early termination options on their contracts. Stock price is at an all-time low. And with the company on the verge of bankruptcy, our employees' morale is at its lowest ever." Miss Wilson's tone was filled with anxiety as she gave a concise report. "Okay, I got it. Keep stabilizing the situation in the company. I'll get back to the office as soon as possible." Kevin couldn't help but frown at this news. "It seems that I have a lot of things to fix. Talk about making up for lost time." Sensing that Kevin was moved by Phoebe's letter, Truman asked him to save her before it was too late. After learning more about the Hayes family from Spencer, Kevin planned to give them a big gift on the date of the wedding. Suddenly, Miss Wilson called, updating him on Williams Media's dire situation. Realizing that a lot had happened in his absence, Kevin vowed to make up for lost time in saving both Phoebe and his company. Inside the luxurious private room at the Salix Hotel, there was a round table filled with people. Vito Booker, who was sitting between two beautiful women, took a big puff from his cigar. "Looks like Chicago will have a new leading company soon. Williams Media is about to go down." Vito Booker blew out a large puff of smoke. "Who does Kevin Williams think he is? He may be his company's CEO, but at the end of the day, he's just a young man. I still can't believe he actually dared to humiliate me like that at the banquet. This time I'll make sure to show him who he's going up against." "No one can compete with the Booker Phoenix Corporation." One of Vito's associates at the table chimed in. At this rate, Williams Media will definitely file for bankruptcy any day now. Another one sneered. Boss, you don't have to worry too much about it, Vito's associate reassured him. Didn't you hear? That was seriously wounded at the Healing Arts School's martial arts competition. Until now, it's unknown whether that guy is still alive or not, but he hasn't shown his face in weeks. A few of Vito's guests, representing some of the most influential families in Chicago, were sitting at a table nearby. When they overheard this exchange, they couldn't help but burst into laughter as well. Letting that man like this is really letting him off the hook too easily. When Vito's voice fell, a familiar voice interrupted them. I'm afraid you won't have that chance anymore. The room immediately became quiet as everyone stopped what they were doing. Who would dare to contradict Vito? Who said that? Vito looked around the room. Could it be who he was thinking? Suddenly the door was kicked open, making a loud noise that startled everyone in the private room. Vito, did you already forget the taste of... Why don't I remind you with another swirly? Kevin slowly walked into the room and looked at everyone. The rich people at the other table were now getting nervous and beads of sweat began to trickle down their foreheads. The fact that they were present indicated that they also had something to do with William Media's downfall. Look who it is. The infamous CEO of Williams Media has finally risen from his grave, Vito mocked. Kevin, you're really lucky to still be alive, but what's the use of coming for me now? I'm afraid it's too late for that. Williams Media is finished. Vito Booker stared at Kevin, fuming with rage. Ever since their encounter at the Foreign Film Festival's kickoff banquet, he would get flashbacks every time he had to use a toilet. No one had ever humiliated him like that, and it continued to haunt him in his dreams. Is that man the son-in-law of the Jones family? One of Vito's snotty guests sneered. When they heard this, everyone in the room pointed at Kevin and burst into laughter. Kevin didn't pay attention to these people. Instead, he just looked at Vito with a cold expression in his eyes. What brings you here at this hour? Are you here to beg for mercy on behalf of your company? When Kevin didn't reply, Vito teased. Just a while ago, you were joking around when you made your entrance, but now you're so quiet and serious all of a sudden. What's the matter? Got your tongue? Kevin immediately made his move. Without saying a word, he walked right up to Vito. Williams Media is almost finished. Shouldn't he be begging for mercy? One of Vito's associates scratched his head. He's too arrogant to accept defeat. He doesn't deserve Vito's mercy. Another one commented. Vito flew into a fit of rage as he flipped his table over. He stood up and roared, Kevin, I've had it with you. You just screwed yourself over big time. Not only do I want to destroy Williams Media, but I'm going to take your hands off tonight as well. My hands are right here. If you want them, then be my guest, Kevin exclaimed. Vito was so angry that the blood vessels on his forehead were popping out. As soon as he finished speaking, a few of Vito's bodyguards rushed in. How dare you cause trouble here? One of the bodyguards cracked his knuckles. With that, 5 or 6 bodyguards rolled up their sleeves and charged towards Kevin, while everyone else who was watching flinched and curled up in their seats. The bodyguards were at least 250 pounds each. How much strength did Kevin have to knock each of them out with a single punch? What are you waiting for? Vito ordered his other bodyguards. Hearing this, the other bodyguards had no choice but to pounce on Kevin. They decided to try their luck by going at him all at once, but Kevin simply shook his head as he raised his fists. In less than a minute, Vito's bodyguards were lying all over the floor. I just realized that it's getting kind of late. I still have some urgent matters to attend to, another guest mumbled. All of a sudden, all of Vito's business associates and guests began running towards the door at the same time. Whoever dares to take one more step won't be shown any mercy. Kevin didn't even bother to look at them as he coldly warned them. Just like that, they stopped in their tracks, and no one dared to take another step forward. With their backs turned to Kevin, everyone fearfully froze in place no matter how awkward their current positions were.
Kevin, don't do anything reckless. We've already dealt so much damage to your company. If things continue like this, Williams Media will have no choice but to file for bankruptcy by tomorrow morning. No matter what you do tonight, you'll never be able to save it.
Vito explained as he endured the intense pain in his stomach and stood up. Is that so? Why don't we play a game to test that theory of yours? Let's see if any of you can really afford it. All of you, turn around and get down on your knees. Kevin used this moment to scan the faces of all of Vito's business associates and guests. After following Kevin's orders, the people all looked at each other with obvious panic in their eyes.
Kevin, do you know who you're going up against? We're all people with money and status. We don't kneel down to anyone,
Nick Archer sneered.
Then he said, we came here on behalf of the Quinn family in New York City, as well as Chicago's Archer, Butler, and Warren families.
Kevin, if you know what's good for you, I advise you to take it easy and back off. If anything bad happens to us, you'll be facing the wrath of all of our families. Doug Butler raised his chin slightly and arrogantly as he threatened Kevin. In that instant, Doug suddenly thought of something. Even if Kevin was the CEO of Williams Media, his company was currently in a precarious situation. Without his business, he was just a son-in-law who definitely wouldn't dare to do anything to them. Or would he?
Kevin didn't blink, didn't speak. But somewhere, deep beneath that calm, something moved. A shadow. A trap. Not for them. For him. Because while Kevin was busy planning their downfall, someone else had already planned his. And they were closer than he thought. He came to burn down their empire. But has Kevin stepped into a war he can't see yet?
When Vito told Kevin that he could no longer afford to save Williams Media, Kevin turned his attention to the other guests in the room. Nick Archer and Doug Butler objected and warned him against doing anything that would incur the wrath of prominent names such as New York's Quinn family, as well as Chicago's Archer, Butler, and Warren families. Do you think that scares me, Doug Butler? Let's see which of us will be standing after tonight. I still remember how you tried to go after my wife at the New Halsted Street Mall. Back then, I may have put you in your place with just a few words, but that doesn't mean I always play nice. Nick Archer was stunned.
Kevin, do you really dare to attack us all? The Archer family won't take kindly to this.
Well, in your case, I won't dare to make a move as simple as that. Kevin stared at him coldly and continued. You said you're from the Archer family, didn't you? By any chance, are you also related to Dominic and Gwen Archer?
It's good that you know my brother and sister's names. Given our family's reputation, I advise you to politely step aside and let me leave. Otherwise, I'll definitely teach you a lesson tonight,
Nick said with confidence. Then I'll take a good look at you tonight. Let's see how you compare with your siblings. Unlike his older siblings, Nick was just a spoiled and entitled slacker. He was used to getting whatever he wanted because of his family name, and he'd never experienced a like this in his entire life. So are you two going to before me or not? Kevin coldly asked as he looked down at the two injured men.
That's never going to happen, so you better me tonight. Otherwise, if I manage to leave this place alive, I'll definitely hunt you down and you.
Doug Butler gritted his teeth and shouted. You want to play the tough guy, huh? All right then, have it your way. Kevin walked up to Doug with a sneer. A crisp sound echoed throughout the room as Doug suddenly let out a miserable cry. Since the door had been left open, the fight in the private room attracted the attention of a lot of people who were passing by. Those who recognized Kevin were stunned. They couldn't help but think to themselves. Doug Butler struggled to get up with all his strength, but he just couldn't.
Kevin, Mr. Williams, please let me go. I beg of you. I don't want to yet. I'm sorry if I ever offended you.
Doug grabbed Kevin's arms tensely as he trembled in fear. A smile slowly emerged on Kevin's face, making the others who were watching feel a cold chill run down their spines.
Okay. I'll down, just please pull me back in."
Doug Butler finally couldn't help but cry out. He was only in his late 20s and didn't want to die so young.
"Prove it."
Down. Doug's face was pale. As he slowly positioned himself down in front of Kevin, he gritted his teeth to resist the pain in his leg.
"That's a good..."
Kevin teased as he patted Doug's head.
"See, wasn't that easy?"
Doug felt utterly ashamed when he heard those words. In an instant, he'd lost all his dignity to Kevin. Next, Kevin then turned his attention to Jacob Warren and Harvey Quinn.
"Why aren't the two of you kneeling down yet?"
Jacob charged madly at Kevin. He knew that he wouldn't be able to escape if he didn't put his life on the line tonight, but how could his strength match up to Kevin's? Kevin looked at Jacob with disdain.
"Let me give you a piece of advice.
If you don't have the strength to go up against someone, you better not fool around. Otherwise, you might end up losing your life one day." Kevin then shifted his gaze to Harvey.
"You better not mess around with me. If you even dare to touch a hair on my head, I'm sure my father will kill you when he finds out."
Harvey was clearly frightened by Kevin's ruthless strength.
"Besides, I haven't said a single insulting thing to you since we got here. If you let me go, I'll immediately withdraw the Quinn's family clampdown on Williams Media as a sign of good faith."
Harvey knew that he had to take a different approach from his peers, so he tried to get in Kevin's good graces. He would then think of a way to have his revenge once he managed to safely return to New York. "I know that you haven't insulted me, and that's the reason why you're still standing right now." Kevin didn't care about him at all.
"What good will it do me if I do everything you want tonight?"
Harvey tried his best to control his anger.
"What did I just say? Didn't you hear me?"
Kevin no longer had the patience to be polite with Harvey.
"Don't push your luck."
"You still don't get it, do you? Your empty promises won't work on me. I can see right through your act. Besides, even if the Quinn family really hates my guts, they would never dare to go against me." Harvey was annoyed. You don't want to return to New York with a broken leg, do you?" Kevin interrupted Harvey before he could say anything. Thinking of what just had happened to Doug Butler, Harvey took a deep breath and slowly opened his mouth.
All right."
Kevin's gaze shifted back towards Nick. "You'd better not pretend to be unconscious." Kevin knew Nick's limits very well. He didn't have to again in order to knock some sense into him. As soon as Nick heard Kevin, he instantly opened his eyes. He no longer had his previous arrogance as he immediately walked over to Jacob and down beside him. The onlookers outside the door all looked at Kevin in awe. In less than 10 minutes, all 4 of these prominent guests were forcefully humbled by Kevin as they obediently on the ground without resistance.
"Kevin, you stirred up such a huge mess. No one can save you now."
Vito, who had just woken up, leaned himself against the wall and shouted at Kevin with hatred. "Vito, it's good that you're awake now. You know, aside from our little at the banquet last time, we don't really have any other issues with one another. Why do we need to do this? Isn't it better to make peace with our enemies than to get rid of them?" Kevin pulled a chair over and sat down next to him.
"Kevin, aren't you being kind of arrogant? As for what you just said, we'll never be friends. Williams Media will crash and burn to the ground in no time, so admit your defeat now and I might just spare your life. Otherwise, I'll make sure you'll be along with your precious company."
Vito ferociously growled. Kevin simply shook his head. Then Kevin brushed some dust off his shoulder and let out a deep sigh.
"Now that everyone here has been dealt with and put in their place, can we all go home?"
Nick fearfully asked. "Nonsense. Why should I end this so soon? Didn't I tell everyone that we were going to play a game tonight? We're just getting started." Kevin replied without a shred of worry. The onlookers suddenly became restless. What did Kevin have in mind for everyone else? Suddenly, more than 10 people walked in the room, led by Rachel and Mitchell Cook. When he saw them, Doug instantly became arrogant once again.
"Rachel, quickly find someone to arrest this. Look at all the trouble he's caused at the Salix Hotel tonight." "Mr. Cook, you came just in time. We were just having dinner when this man showed up uninvited. Not only did he up all these people, he even broke one of Doug's and made these poor gentlemen down in front of him. You have to help us."
Vito Booker's eyes lit up. He was expecting to see Kevin get punished, but Vito was in for a big surprise.
Please subscribe to the Pocket FM YouTube channel and press the bell icon for instant notification. Check out our channel for more such exciting shows.